So are you thinking about bringing somebody onto your team? Maybe you're bringing somebody onto your team. Maybe you're thinking about, I've got a project for a freelancer and I need some support. Let's talk about some interview questions that are going to help you find the perfect person to help you do what you need to get done. So congratulations, you're making the decision that at some point I'm going to be bringing on somebody who's going to do some of these things that are just not in my wheelhouse or I don't have time to do anymore. That is a big step, and it's kind of an extra challenge sometimes in the world that we all operate in, because you're an expert in what you do, right? You have your expertise, you do what you do with your clients, you teach, you coach, you consult, and then when it comes down to finding somebody to help you with building a funnel or developing a website or shooting video, you feel like, wow, how can I interview this person when I don't even know what it is exactly that they're going to be doing, right? So we're all in that boat. Let's talk about some questions that you can focus on in an initial interview when you're making a decision to hire a freelancer or to bring on somebody technically oriented to support you in what you're doing. One of the things that's really important is to make the distinction between the technical work that someone's doing, right, which you probably don't know all about, right? When I think of all the components of things that are moving in my business, I don't know all of those technical things, and I'm not masterful. I'm not even competent in a good portion of those technical things. So interviewing somebody about the technical aspects of that is not going to get me very far in figuring out if it's a good fit. What I can focus on is the thought process. Like, what I want to find out when I'm interviewing somebody is I want to understand the way they think. I want to understand the strategy that they're going to use, because if they have good thinking skills, if they have good approach to strategy, good approach to project management, then it's really likely that they're going to be able to deliver what you need delivered. So let's take a look at some questions that you can add into your interview and really find out a lot about that person that you're considering hiring. All right, first question. Walk me through your process. So if you're talking to somebody about anything, how they're going to build a web page for you, how they're going to film some video for you, having them walk you through the process is going to tell you a lot about how they think. So is this vague? Do they have just like a general idea? Do they have a process they're moving through? Are they being really clear about what they're doing and what they're going to need from you? You're going to learn a lot, and it's going to help you decide, wow, is this going to be somebody who's going to manage the process enough for me that I can show up the way I want to show up in this work? Because, if you want somebody who's going to show up and manage the process, they need to have a process. And the way they walk you through that and the detail they give you gives you a good idea of how strong and grounded they are in leading the work that they lead. Now, if they don't have a lot of process, they don't have a lot of strength in describing that, you might be getting a flag that, I'm going to have to manage this process. And then you got to ask yourself, is that something you want to do or not? Is that how you want to show up? Here's another example. Tell me about your most recent projects. So walk me through the last couple projects you did. Tell me about it. Open-ended, and you're going to hear what types of things they're working on. You're going to hear, what the drivers were in it. You're going to hear what kind of level of detail they're giving you in it. You're going to hear how they showed up in the project. You might ask some follow-up questions like, were you working with other people on the team? Were you working with their internal team? Were you leading the whole thing yourself? What parts of this did you lead? What parts were other people handling? It's giving you a good sense of what parts they own, what parts they need somebody else to show up in, and also what kind of projects they're doing right now. Are they doing the type of work that you want them to do within your business? These are really interesting because you never know what's going to show up, and listening can help you learn a lot about what this person brings to the table. Another question. So tell me about your favorite clients. This is one of my favorite questions because first of all, people don't usually want to answer that question. So one thing you got to do when you're interviewing somebody is you got to be okay with silence a little bit. So like, tell me about your favorite clients. And they just kind of sit there like, what do you mean? Because they don't want to answer the question. So no, tell me about who's been your favorite. Like if you could have one or two of your clients and every one of your clients was like that client, or you could clone them and have 20 of them, what client would that be? Tell me about them. What makes them different? What do you love about them? When you're listening to their response, you're getting a sense of how they like to work and who they like to work with. And obviously you can ask yourself, am I that person, right? If they like, oh, I loved working with her because she just basically, got out the way and I was able to do whatever and have total creativity. And if you're thinking to yourself, no, that's not me, right? I have a very clear idea of what I want. I want to storyboard it. I want to give it to you and I want you to execute. Then that might be a flag that you need to explore that a little bit. And is this going to be a good fit? You can also flip that around and follow back up with, okay, well, can you give me one that wouldn't make the favorite list? Was there anything about that relationship that you can flag and say, well, this is probably why it didn't work? Because that's going to give you an expectation they have around how they want the working relationship to be. Okay, it's really helpful to find this out in the front end. Another question that you can ask is, how will you measure success? Now, this is so powerful because it's going to tell you a lot about how this person thinks. So if you're asking somebody to come in and write copy for you, and you say how you're going to measure success, and they don't have an answer to that, I can tell you that there's somebody who's going to move through the motions of delivering you 1,000 words that's going to be in an article or a post, but they're not thinking about how that's going to drive your business. They're not thinking that, oh, I'm going to write this copy, and well, one of the ways I'm going to measure it is your open rates on your emails. So I'll give you 2 subject lines, and you can see which one is going to perform better. We're going to look at, I like to measure it by seeing how many people are opening the emails as we get deeper into the campaign. Are we keeping people interested and they're moving through the campaign and they're opening every email? That's somebody who gets strategy when it comes to copy. Somebody who doesn't get strategy is probably not going to have a good answer to this question. And it doesn't matter if you're talking about video or you're talking about having somebody design a landing page for you or write copy for you or even talk to your clients on the phone when they're doing customer support for your course. If they can't answer this, they're not thinking about how what they do connects to your business and the drivers in your business. And you want that. You want people to show up and get that. So these are just 4, right? There's more that you can go look at in the blog post, but the theme here that I want you to notice, and you can craft your own questions around this theme, is focus on the thought process, focus on, do they get my business and what I'm trying to do with this? And can they think strategically about how what they do drives what you're trying to do? And when you really land on somebody who can do that, and you couple it with looking at some samples of their work, if they answer these questions the way you want them to, and they can show you great samples of work, it's likely you've got a great partner that you're considering bringing on to work with you in whatever capacity. So I'd love to hear from you. What do you think? If you have some great interview questions, let's add them here in the comments, because we can all use an inventory of questions that we can really lean into to make sure we're finding our perfect people.